Hello and welcome. So today I wanted to do an update to my previous video that was about Clive Palmer's Trumpet of Patriots party that ran in the 2025 Australian federal election and ran some incredibly wild adverts, which I looked at in my previous video. If you haven't already, go and watch that and then come back and see this update, which will include basically the election results. Yeah, I thought today we could look at how did the Trumpet of Patriots do. I wanted to bring up a few other things that I forgot to mention in my original video and talk about maybe what is going to happen to this party going forward. Let's get into it. So unless you've been living under a rock when it comes to the election results, you should know that Labour had an absolute landslide evening where they won a whole lot of seats this election. We can see here they only needed 76. They won 93. This is in Parliament. The Liberal National Party, which is the opposition, really has just been mostly decimated. I mean, that's a tough loss to come back from, man. The Greens have gone all the way down to 1 seat. We've only got 11 other, independent other parties that are making up the Parliament. Now, the Senate is a little bit closer with Labour still ahead, but only slightly. Greens did a little bit better when it came to the Senate. One Nation continues to have someone representing them in the Senate. The rest are pretty much independent to some degree. And down here we have, unfortunately, oh man, the Trumpet of Patriots with 0 wins. What? And same over here when it comes to the Parliament. Trumpet of Patriots, as far as I understand, have no representation in the Parliament. Look, over here we see not a single yellow square. Very, very sad for our friends at the Trumpet of Patriots. But before we dig further into the results and what that means for our beloved Patriot Party, I thought I'd fill you in on a couple of other things that I kind of forgot or missed out on my previous video. So firstly, there was this drama that happened right before the election. Clive Palmer claims his Trumpet of Patriots how-to vote cards have been tampered with. Uh-oh, that's not good. Basically, this controversy comes from the fact that whenever in Australia, because we have preferential ranked choice voting, parties that run will release a how-to vote card, like a preference list where they recommend who their voters should vote for other than them. And the Trumpet of Patriots how-to vote card that Clive released, I guess, had some candidates on it that were not super conservative. And this guy, who is a candidate for Flinders, Jason Smart, has withdrawn his candidacy and claimed he was blindsided after seeing the cards show opponent and teal opponent Ben Smith recommended above some conservative candidates. So basically he had an issue with the preference card that they were releasing. Clive then chose to claim that the cards had been tampered with, but of course that wasn't enough to stop this guy from basically stepping aside and resigning before the race even happened. Which, these Trumpet of Patriots, they needed every soldier they could have, every patriot that was willing to fight, and they lost one, so maybe explains why they didn't do all that well. I also wanted to show you like 2 other ads that they released because I forgot to put this in the original video and I just thought these ads were weird and interesting and worthy enough to show you and goof on them a little bit. This ad is almost certainly a copy of a Donald Trump ad, which I'm going to show you in a minute, but let's just see how Suellen delivers it and what the average person might react to her claiming this.
Liberal and Labor serve they them. Trumpet of Patriots cares about you. Vote 1, Trumpet of Patriots.
If you cut it really short, it's actually her giving Liberal and Labor a compliment.
Liberal and Labor serve.
Liberal and Labor serve. No, but yes, this was another culture war focused ad that Suellen put out where she claims Liberal and Labor serve they them. Ooh, spooky. And the
Patriots cares about you.
Trumpet of
Vote 1,
Patriots
Trumpet
cares
of Patriot.
about you, folks. That's for sure. Oh boy. But yeah, what I found so interesting about that ad, aside from it just being dumb, lame culture war bullshit that brings the trans issue into everything when it's like this election was just not about that. Even worse than that is that her ad was actually plagiarized from a Donald Trump ad in 2024 against Kamala. Let's take a look.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
It's hard to believe, but it's true. Even the liberal media was shocked Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump.
Okay, so you can hear that line at the end there. Kamala is for they, them. Donald Trump is for you. Now, look, whether you agree or disagree with the trans thing and culture war and whatever, they at least in this ad had like some B-roll of Kamala with different trans people trying to illustrate her support for this issue. And look, the whole sex change for prisoners funded by taxpayer money thing. I mean, I think it's just, it's such a fringe, like 1% of 1% affecting issue. And it's so funny to me to hyper focus on her answers with regard to this policy that affects such a minority of people. But look, this video is not about Trump or Kamala. It's about our lovely Suellen right here. And I only wanted to show that to you to prove that
Liberal and Labor serve they, them.
This delivery is totally plagiarized. It's totally stolen from a Trump ad, and
Trumpet of Patriots cares about you.
And I don't think they deliver it very well at all. It's deadpan. It doesn't feel delivered with passion or care. I honestly think most Australian voters who saw this ad were just confused. Like, what are you even talking about? Serve they, them? Who is they, that? What are we doing? So yes, another failed attempt for Suellen to bring culture war issues into this election that clearly did not work out. And the last ad that I wanted to show you here in this update video is one that I just think is so wonderfully exemplary of just the silliness that was going on with this party's campaign.
It's not Tweedledum or Tweedledee. It's not Dumb or Dumber. It's not even B1 or B2 that will save our country. Only the Trumpet of Patriots can. Vote 1, Trumpet of Patriots.
Oh, gosh. Well, it's funny she says it's not B1 or B2, considering your party literally is the color of a banana, my girl. I don't know who wrote these scripts, but I hope they find work after this because Trumpet of Patriots will probably not be continuing to employ your services, whoever wrote these scripts. I also got these text messages, which I just thought were quite funny, from Trumpet. We don't even get the full name of the party in the sender. We got solve housing, fast trains, 20 minutes, CBD, cheaper land, super deposit, 3% interest, cut immigration by 80%. Jeez, wow. These texts even sound like loud and in your face. Double fees for foreign students, free education for Australians, forgive loans, vote 1, Trumpet of Patriots. God, these texts are crazy. Cut immigration by 80% and house the homeless. Vote 1, Trumpet of Patriots. The reason I'm showing you these texts is because a lot of people got text messages like this and people felt quite bombarded by these like unsolicited text messages from Trumpet that were just telling us to vote in a certain kind of a way. I mean, I know that the traditional parties do some amount of like text advertising, but I don't think it's so in your face. These Trumpet texts were pretty widespread and just not asked for. So just another thing that people did not like about the way they ran their campaign. But you see, one of my questions was answered, and that's whether or not the YouTube channel would stay live. It appears the YouTube channel is continuing to stay up. The videos are available to watch. So we've got a whole backlog if you want to go and check out anything, any of these gold gems over here. And I also thought it'd be interesting to take a look at whether or not the Trumpet of Patriots actually hurt the Greens and One Nation. As I showed you before, One Nation and the Greens both did not do very well this election. And obviously in the previous video, we saw Trumpet of Patriots call the Greens and One Nation both evil, which I guess some voters agreed to a degree. But explaining the Greens losses, the One Nation losses, even the Trumpet of Patriots losses is a lot more about Labor's landslide in this election than it was anything else. People were clearly pretty content with the incumbent government and they were not happy with the opposition that was being presented. I guess people wanted something different when it came to an alternative. They were happy with the status quo when it was compared to what was being offering to take over. And that kind of sums up everything in its entirety, but I just thought it would be interesting to focus over here on the fact that Palmer's reported $50 to $60 million advertising spend basically resulted in nothing. No Senate seats, no Parliament House seats. I mean, Pauline Hanson's One Nation did better. They seem to get a better vote. Although what's interesting is that Pauline Hanson's daughter, Lee Hanson, who I assume she wanted to come into politics so that she could take over the party when Pauline retires, well, that doesn't look like it's all that likely considering she is currently losing to Jackie Lambie in Tasmania. But basically the idea is that pretty much all minor parties did quite poorly this election season. Whilst I do think Trumpet of Patriots was just uniquely bad and silly and awful, hence why I made a video, I don't want to overstate how uniquely unpopular they were this election when pretty much all minor parties were overlooked this past election. I mean, what's interesting about this result too is that the Greens lost their leader here, Adam Bandt, event. The leader of the Liberal Party, Peter Dutton, he lost his seat in this election, which means he can't be the leader of the Liberal Party anymore, so they need a new leader. Trumpet of Patriots, we're just not quite sure what they're going to do with their leader. God bless Suellen. But yeah, the only parties that got through this election without having a leadership switch up seem to be Labour and the Nationals, who I think just re-elected their leader. And that does naturally lead us to the question of what is next for the Trumpet of Patriots. Well, we can start with suellen wrightson, who has apparently shut down all social media accounts. Not a great sign for her political future. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen to her place as leader of the party. Will she step down entirely? Will she continue to lead the party? Of course, these questions are coming partly because Clive Palmer, as we can see here, oh God, come on, MSN. Load up the article for us. An old dying media outlet to cover the end of an old dying politician. But yes, we can see here Trumpet of Patriots founder Clive Palmer to retire from politics. Now, from what I understand, he is basically stepping aside from the political landscape entirely. Trumpet of Patriots only secured 1.85% of the primary vote, which is not a lot. Despite spending more than $60 million. What an absolute L for you, bro. You sucked shit this election, dude. But yes, Clive Palmer will be leaving politics, which is, I guess, a shame for those of us who like to see old guys with white hair in our political system. I did think this was a funny line. He says here, I'd rather spend time helping the tens of thousands that are homeless and hungry in this country. That's why I've donated $5 million to Food Bank. Now, of course, $5 million to Food Bank is a great donation, and I think as many rich people should be donating to these kinds of charitable organizations as possible. However, let's not forget that in the same article a few sentences earlier, we're told about how he spent $60 million on a political campaign. If you're spending $60 million on something and $5 million on another thing, I think it's clear which one you care about more. And maybe that $5 million is such a small amount to you that you're able to do it because you know you have a chance of getting positive press from making that donation. But yes, this seems to be the pathway for our lovely 71-year-old Clive Palmer, retiring politics, taking his money, walking away with the basketball and sooking and going home. Will he continue to put his money into the Trumpet of Patriots or any political causes after this? I don't know. Maybe he means it when he says he's out of politics. Maybe he will just go away. But the ego of a guy like this, I don't think can be underestimated. I mean, I'm not sure how long he can stay away without having his name and face in the spotlight. But for that, we will have to see what the future holds. This was a short little update just to let you know where the Trumpet of Patriots is, what's going on. Suellen wrightson has gone dark, so we don't know. Will she be the leader? Will she step down? Will the party even continue to exist without Clive Palmer's funding? Nobody knows. But clearly, things are in quite a lot of disarray, which as always is just satisfying and fun to watch. So there you have it, an update to the Trumpet of Patriots election prospects. Unfortunately, they did not win this time. They lost pretty monumentally. So unexpected, totally not what I thought would happen when I made that video. Oh my gosh. But anyway, that's just a little update. I hope you enjoy this video and I hope you enjoy the other video. If you haven't watched it, please go and watch it and give it some love. And if you're enjoying these videos, go ahead and like and subscribe and come back, check the channel later for another video in about a week or two. So thank you for tuning in. Always appreciate your company. Take care. See you next time.